last night was NXT Battleground from Lowell, Massachusetts. And to be completely honest, if I'm going to just say what I thought was the best overall show of the weekend, whether that's WWE, whether that is, WWE's main roster, whether that is AEW or NXT, I think as a whole, from start to finish, NXT was the most solid show. I thought NXT was good throughout the entire thing. So the big thing going into this show was we're basically in Carmelo Hayes' hometown, kind of. He's from Boston. They're in Lowell. They're not far away. So they kept doing the hometown boy, the home state boy, whatever. Now, I know there was like a 30-minute preview on Peacock. Didn't watch any of that. Just went straight into the show that opened up with the NXT North American Championship. It was Wes Lee defending against Joe Gacy and Tyler Bate. And boy, was this good. This was a great match to open up the show. Get the fans going. Man, was this good. The story going into this match is that, Wes Lee and Tyler Bate, I wouldn't call them friends. Maybe not. But the story is that they were on good terms, I guess you could say it. Friendly. And Joe Gacy kept trying to break a wedge or cause a wedge, rift, whatever you want to say, between them. And the rift did continue last night, early on in this match, actually, as the rift continues, as Bate and Lee engaged in some fisticuffs early on, allowing Gacy to strike with a dive through the ropes as they were fighting on the outside. The pace then quickened, and the action intensified with a flurry of spots. Bate did an impressive spot where he gives Lee a giant swing while simultaneously giving Gacy an airplane spin. Like, come on. Claudio ain't doing that one. Claudio ain't doing, got a guy on his shoulders and a swing at the same time. Fucking Tyler Bate is a monster. Moments later, Gacy executes a slow drop on Bate while at the same time giving Lee a Uranagi slam. Gacy eight separate times catches both, Gacy at separate times caught both Bate and Lee in a crossface, but the hold is broken up by the other. Lee fired up to deliver a double karatic kick, and he gets a little close, doesn't really get a near fall off of it. There's a great sequence where Lee applied a sleeper on Gacy. Gacy then countered the sleeper by ramming Lee into the turnbuckle. Gacy goes for the cover, but Bate breaks it up with a corkscrew swanton. Bate then delivered a Tyler Driver 97, but Lee breaks up the pin and gets a near fall from the broken pin on Gacy. Great sequence here. There's a spot where there was a contrived spot that had Gacy perched on the top rope, and Gacy apparently avoided Lee's attack. Lee then sails outside with a flip dive and wipes out Bate. He did the Montez Ford spot, basically. So he's got Joe Gacy on the top rope. He's trying to do something, I don't know what, and Gacy kind of like pushes him off or whatever. Then Wes Lee goes, screw this, and he runs, and you think he's going to maybe run and jump on the top rope and try to do something with Gacy, but instead, he just kind of shifts himself to the side of Gacy, who's still sitting on the top rope, and he does a flip dive over the ropes to the outside on to Tyler Bate. This was a really cool spot. Back in the ring, Gacy executes a Uranagi slam and sets a first finish. Lee counters by executing his own finish. There's a karatic kick by Lee, and he covers Gacy to win the match and retain the North American Championship. Wes Lee is on a roll. They're doing great things with Wes Lee. He's a huge babyface for the brand. Every time I see Wes Lee, the first thought that I think of is, man, this guy's hot. But where would he have been if Zachary Wentz never got fired? Would he just be a fledgling tag guy? Would they be the top tag team? Would they be in the hunt as a tag team? What would Wes Lee's trajectory be and look like in NXT if he was still in a tag team? That's the big question. Would he be a champion? A singles champion to boot? I don't know. But I love everything they're doing with him. The super charismatic, everyone loves him babyface, going out there, putting on great matches, banger after banger. Just they've found something in Wesley, and hopefully it doesn't stop anytime soon. So next up, the NXT Heritage Cup is on the line as Noam Dar defends against Dragon Lee with, well, British rounds rules. If you don't know what British rounds rules are, let's tell you. The British rounds rules is a 6-round match. Each round is 3 minutes. After those 3 minutes, each competitor goes back to their corner and gets 20 seconds to rest, kind of recuperate. Now, if a pinfall or a submission occur in any of the rounds, boom, it just ends the round there, no matter how far into the round it is. But if for some reason there is a disqualification or a complete knockout, that just ends the match altogether. 2 out of 3 falls is how you win this match. You have to get 2 falls. First to 2 falls wins. If you get to the end of round 6 and there's no clear winner, whoever has the most falls wins the match. So if one person has 1 and one person has 0, the one wins. If it's a tie, 1-1 by round 6, tie goes to the champ. Champ retains the belt or the trophy, the cup, whatever you want to call it. So the match starts out and Dragon Lee has Nathan Frazier in his corner. Noam Dar comes out with nobody. Round 1 was mostly grappling on the mat, and Dar powders and flees the ring as the round is winding down. Now, Dar doing this in the past, being in British rounds matches in the past, fighting for the Heritage Cup, played to his advantage early on because Dragon Lee kept forgetting about the time. Dragon Lee kept forgetting about the clock, and he would be going for stuff, doing stuff, and the ref would go, stop! Time is up, round's over. Like in the first round, he went to go for a dive on Noam Dar to the outside, but the ref stops him before he can actually do the dive because the round ended. And this, I think, happened in 1 or 2 other rounds as well, where he's going for something, and the ref had to stop him. But between rounds 1 and 2, Oro Mensah would run down to ringside to be the corner man for Noam Dar. Mensah was recruited to be a second in a skit on the pre-show that I did not see, but at least they told us about it on the main card. The Dragon Lee in the next round was gaining some momentum, going, and gets a roll-up, or gets rolled up by Dar for a pinfall with about 1 minute and 30 seconds left in the second round. So about halfway through the second round, Noam Dar goes up 1-0. Dragon Lee was making a rally late in the third round, and he's got Dar kind of like up against the ropes, and he's punching them and hitting them, and the ref gets in the way. Round's over. And soon as the ref does that, Noam Dar then, boom, back elbows Dragon Lee right in the face. And the ref's yelling at him, hey, the round was over. He's like, I didn't hear the ding. I didn't hear it. I didn't know. I'm sorry. And so Vic goes, oh, okay, I guess the referee's going to leave this one up to referee's discretion. And the referee's going to give him a pass here. And I go, should he? Because they're like, if this is what it should be a DQ. Noam Dar loses because he attacked after the bell at the end of the round. This should be a DQ. But instead, the ref gives him a warning and says, we'll let it slide. But the ref ends up looking like a jackalope here, like a dum-dum. Because the ref literally got in between the two and said, the round's over, stop. Very loudly to where we caught him, so we can hear it on the camera. And he just gives Noam Dar the pass here. I wasn't a big fan of that. But Dragon Lee's kind of down from the elbow. Kind of whatever. Not really able to catch himself here. And Noam Dar's like, screw the 20 seconds. Let's go. He's down. I need to go. And the round starts, and Dar works over Dragon Lee. Dragon Lee then fights back as he applies a Texas Cloverleaf. Mensah cheats, though, and pushes the ropes just a little closer to Noam Dar so he can get for the rope break. Ref sees this and just gives Oro Mensah a warning, going, hey, you can't do that. Get out. No. I'm like, what? Who paid off this goddamn ref? This then leads to Frazier coming to the aid of Wes Lee, taking out Oro Mensah. And Oro Mensah, though, gets the better of it, and Frazier crashes into the steps. Dragon Lee tries to score as he does a tilt-a-whirl plancha and Lee covers Dar for the pinfall, bringing it all even 1-1. The cornermen are also looking to get even as well. Frazier jumps Mensa as they brawl, and the referee says, well, you guys aren't doing your job. Just get out of here. You guys are both kicked out. Go. They're sent to the back. Now there's no cornermen. No one let the other know what's going on, basically. So we're 1-1 as we go into round 5. No seconds. Dragon Lee takes an ugly bump off the apron. This looked bad. This looked really bad. So I forgot to mention earlier, he did a spot where Noam Dar, pretend I'm Noam Dar on the apron. My microphone stands the ropes, right? Right. The arm here is the top rope. I'm Noam Dar. Well, Dragon Lee runs at Noam Dar, jumps over the top rope, grabs him from the neck with his legs, Hurricane Rana off the apron. This was an awesome spot. Great spot. Well, he tries to do it again in round 5, but instead, Noam Dar has it spotted, tries to grab him for a power bomb, but can't really hold him. They both fall off the apron. It looks like Noam Dar, or Dragon Lee, maybe cracks the back of his head on the side of the rope, the ring, the apron, the skirt, whatever you want to call it. Nasty looking spot, but Dragon Lee continued and was seemingly fine going forward. So yeah, scary looking spot. Dragon Lee recovers and he executes a last ride's Liger bomb for a near fall, but can't really get it as they go to the end of round 5. Jakara Jackson then suddenly runs in the ring to distract the referee, and this is when Lash Legend then hops the barricade, and she smacks Dragon Lee across the back with the bucket, the one that Oro Mensah had brought out earlier. Dar then delivers his finisher and just pins Dragon Lee to win the match. Very shocked that Dragon Lee didn't win, but now it looks like Noam Dar is going to lead himself a little stable with Oro Mensah, Jakara Jackson, and Lash Legend. Don't know where this is going, but cool. Something different. We get, I think, more of them in a backstage interview later. Then we got what may have been, and I've seen others say this too, match of the weekend. As far as from anything. New Japan, NXT, main roster WWE, AEW. I think this last man standing match with Ilya Dragunov and Dijak may have been the best match of the weekend. These two beat the ever-loving dog piss out of each other, and it was fun to watch. It wasn't like anarchy in the arena, spots for spots, violence for violence. No, this was calculated, well thought out match where these two beat the ever-loving crap out of each other. It was a war. I loved it. The match begins with them brawling around ringside. The ring steps are quickly utilized as a prop, which is a callback to an angle that set this whole thing up to start with. Dijak also drags a table from under the ring, and Dragunov hurls himself through the table in order to knock down Dijak. This is a cool looking spot. Dragunov is also hurled onto the ring steps, but he counters Dijak by giving him a DDT on the steps. Dragunov then picks up the steps and uses them as a weapon. Dragunov goes coast to coast with Van Terminator that sandwiches Dijak with the steps. They trade some chops and whatnot. You get some Ric Flair and Wahoo McDaniel vibes. Dijak takes a German suplex on his head and neck, but he rises like an angry monster and comes right back at it. Dijak bellows with a primal yell, and he guzzles Dragunov. Dijak gives Dragunov a chokeslam on the apron, which looks like that hurt like hell. And Dragunov barely breaks the 10 count and getting back in the ring and stopping the 10 count for the last man standing. We then see a feast your eyes by Dijak, and Dragunov is on rubbery legs, barely able to stand at this point. Dragunov falls into the corner, and in the middle, and the middle rope kind of keeps him up as he grabs it to hold himself up. There's another primal scream by Dijak as he retrieves a kendo stick and just starts waylaying at Dragunov's midsection. Just ka-chow, 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 just beating the shit out of him. Dijak wants Dragunov to stay down, but Dragunov won't go down. Dijak then splinters the kendo stick with repeated strikes to Dragunov. Dijak then grabs a metal folding chair, and Dragunov fights back. But Dijak hits him with the chair, and Dragunov still wants to fight back. There's a comeback by Dragunov as he climbs atop the ring steps and that are in the ring, and Dragunov leaps off the steps with a flying forearm and lands on Dijak, sandwiching him into the chair. Dijak could not answer the 10 count here, and Dragunov becomes the last man standing. I liked this finish. It was basically, Dijak's got the chair, Dragunov jumps off the ropes, boom, forearms the chair into him, and there we go. So, yeah, Ilya Dragunov defeats Dijak in the last man standing match. This match was so good. This match was so much fun to watch. I enjoyed it. If you haven't seen this match, go watch it. Go watch it, because this match was really, really good. Mackenzie Mitchell's backstage with Noam Dar, Lash Legend, Jakara Jackson, and Oro Mensah. They're celebrating Dar's big win, retaining the trophy. And yeah, it seems like a new faction is formed in NXT. We then get the announcement that on July 30th, NXT will be going to Cedar Park, Texas, right outside of Austin, for the Great American Bash. Now, there had been a rumor that this could have been just a special episode of NXT, because the next week after this is NXT. That week's NXT is July 4th. It's July 4th episode of NXT, and the thought was maybe, okay, well, to maybe hopefully get a good rating on July 4th, which is usually a down day for wrestling, do a special event on USA Network. But no, they're not, as far as we know. Great American Bash is going to be on July 30th. Maybe they still do something special on July 4th, but see where it goes. Next up, the NXT Tag Team Championships were on the line when Gallus, Mark Coffey, and Wolfgang, with Joe Coffey, defended against the Creed brothers, Brutus and Julius Creed, with Ivy Nile. I thought this match was really good, but I didn't like the finish. The finish kind of hurt this match from being really, really good. I thought it was good, but not really good because of the finish. Because basically it was Ava comes down, she attacks Ivy, this distracts Julius, and then he just gets pinned. So, it took away from the match, if I'm going to say, if I'm going to be honest. It was the match itself. The bulk of the match was good, just a bad finish. There's heat on Brutus early as Gallus worked him over. Julius cleans house after a hot tag. He gets a near fall with a standing shooting star. The Creeds go for a doomsday device, but Mark Coffey counters. There's a double team by Gallus as they team up on Julius. Brutus then makes the save with a flying cannonball. The Creeds rally as they psych each other up. Joe Coffey tries to interfere, but he tripped up Ivy Nile. Joe Coffey is then clotheslined out of the ring. Ava suddenly comes down to ringside and assaults Ivy Nile. Ava then sends Nile crashing into the ring post. This then distracts Julius long enough for Gallus to hit their finish, and Mark Coffey pins him to pick up the victory. So Gallus do retain the NXT Tag Team Championships. Again, I thought it was a good match, but the finish really just made it okay. So next up, it was Tiffany Stratton versus Lyra Valkyra for the vacant NXT Women's Championship. I thought these two worked really well together. I thought these two did a good job in this match. They grappled early on with the Tides, turned when Stratton targeted the injured leg of Valkyria. She worked over Valkyra's left knee. Stratton then goes on to pull off the knee brace, and Stratton keeps working the knee, which is wrapped in tape. Stratton applies a Muda lock, further targeting the injured knee. Valkyra then makes a comeback as she leaps off the top rope into a missile dropkick. Valkyra is mounting a comeback, yet she continues to sell the knee. There were some awkward spots at one point towards the end, but they kind of got through it. There's a high cross by Valkyra. Stratton rolls through it and lifts Valkyra off the mat. Valkyra sort of counters with a crucifix bomb and gets a near fall off of it. Valkyra is then tripped up, and Stratton does a springboard into a corkscrew splash. He traded a few near falls to the home stretch at the end. Valkyra blocks a handspring back elbow and gives some suplexes to Stratton. Valkyra then tries to follow this up with her finish, which is a roundhouse kick, but her injured knee gives way, and she buckles. Stratton then capitalizes, going for her finishing sequence, the rollover fireman's carry into the PME, prettiest moonsault ever, and pins her to become the champion. So there we go. Stratton wins the belt. And they made a point to be like, you know, Tiffany Stratton, she's had opportunities before for the NXT Women's Championship, but this is the first time it's been a one-on-one singles match for Tiffany Stratton. So there we go. Tiffany Stratton is your new NXT Women's Champion. So let me go on to our main event. Carmelo Hayes defending the NXT Championship against Braun Breaker. This match was so good. I really like this match. So, soon as the bell rings, Carmelo Hayes just explodes and goes after Breaker. Hayes overwhelms Breaker with a flurry of offense. Hayes almost spiked himself doing a dive over the ropes to the floor, but Breaker luckily caught him. Breaker eventually cuts off Hayes, and Breaker begins to work over Hayes. Hayes fights back, and Hayes delivers a fadeaway leg drop. Hayes works the leg as he targets Breaker's knee, which, in some way, is kind of a callback to the previous match. Breaker, though, cuts off Hayes again. Breaker punishes Hayes with a series of suplexes. Breaker pauses at the point to taunt Hayes by doing some push-ups. There was a super Frankensteiner by Breaker for a near fall. Hayes then fights back as they trade some strikes, but Breaker dumps Hayes with another suplex. Hayes counters Breaker, but Breaker can apply the Steiner recliner. Breaker goes for a vertical suplex, but countered by Hayes, and Hayes spikes Breaker with a DDT. They trade some punches, and Hayes goes in a flurry of offense, which leads him to a springboard into a Tito Santana forearm smash. Breaker will not stay down, though, and he taunts Hayes. They're trading punches again as Breaker goes for the guzzle. Breaker instead takes a code breaker, and Hayes climbs the turnbuckles. Hayes rolls through, and Breaker moves out of the way, and then Breaker posts him. Hayes attempts his springboard forearm again, and Breaker spears him in midair for a great-looking near fall. Breaker then pulls down the straps of the singlet and starts tossing Hayes all around the ring. Hayes counters Breaker's military press into a small package for a close 2. Hayes with a terrifica of super kicks, and then Hayes springboards into a DDT. Hayes follows this up with a nothing but net flying leg drop, and Hayes covers Breaker to retain the NXT Championship. So there we go. Carmelo Hayes is still the NXT champion. And now the big question is, what is next for Braun Breaker? Braun Breaker, since coming to NXT, has always been in the mix for the title. And now that he's not the champion, now that he's lost his opportunity to regain the championship, what do they do next with Braun Breaker? That's going to be a tough one to think about. Does he stay in NXT and feud with somebody else and do other things? Or is it time to bring old Braun Breaker to the main roster? But with that, that is everything that did take place at NXT Battleground. Overall, I thought a very solid show. Now you know what I thought of the show. Now it's time to hear what you guys thought of last night's show. So let's go to the polls. Check them all out. Let's refresh all of those. Come on. Or as the Twitter poll does go, 100% liked it. Wow. Or as the YouTube community poll does go, 84% liked it, 10% thought it was just all right, and 6% did not like it. As far as some of the comments here, this person goes, great show. The best moment was Tiffany becoming champion. This person says, best show of the weekend. This person says, I loved it. I thought it was the best pay-per-view of the weekend. And this person says, start of it was good, then it fell flat, and the second half wasn't. And they said, wasn't a fan of the main event. Okay. To each their own. As far as the YouTube, I didn't do a YouTube live poll? I thought I did. It must never have actually went. Nope. It never sent itself. That's fine. We'll go to the Twitch poll then. That's odd, but okay. As far as the Twitch poll does go, 100% liked the show. That's good to see. But with that, that was everything that did take place at NXT Battleground.